The Toyota LandCruiser 300 series has a 110-litre fuel tank. This has 131 litres. Could it cross the Simpson in one fill? Right now, the Tank 500 has underperformed in terms of sales, despite sharp pricing. So, GWM had to build a diesel version, and I'll get into that later around why that's so important. From 65 grand, Australia is about to get a Tank 500 diesel with more torque than Ford's Everest V6, a massive fuel tank, no AdBlue, and a 3.5 tonne tow rating. Australia is the benchmark for caravanning, or as the Americans say, overlanding. That's why it's developed this new 3-litre engine specifically for our market. That's why they've got Holden's chassis guru on board. And that's why they'll be bringing a thumping great twin-turbo V8 here real soon. Forget everything you thought you knew about Chinese powertrains, because today we are testing an engine that has been developed specifically for Australia from scratch. I'm in the GWM Tank 500. This new 3-litre 4-cylinder turbo diesel will be exported around the world, but it has been designed for the Australian market first and foremost. This is pretty exciting. There's a lot of interest around this engine. It's not yet on sale. It's going to come out in September, I believe. And it's going to go into this, the Tank 500, and also the Canon Alpha, the big ute as well. So first, let's talk numbers. We've got 170 kilowatts and 620 newton meters. Now, main competition is Ford's 3-litre V6. Now, that V6 has more power, 14 kilowatts more, but less torque, 20 newton meters less, and this one claims to be significantly more fuel efficient. That number matters because diesel still runs this country. 6 of Australia's top 10 best-selling vehicles in 2025 were diesel-powered. This is GWM finally building the powertrain Aussie buyers already voted for with their wallets, and nothing covers distance like diesel. 7.1 litres per 100 Ks in this Tank 500. That is impressive. Some of the other stats include 3.5 tonne towing, and all their testing, they're saying they're towing between 3 tonnes and 3.5. This is not a legally allowed to tow 3.5 tonnes, but you probably wouldn't want to because the engine can't cope with it. This has been designed to do that.
GWM entering highway circuit at 5%.
That's Rob Tribbiani just on the radio there. He's leading the vehicle here. He's the guy that tunes some of Holden's most famous cars, and he is now in charge of tuning all these cars for GWM in Australia. And the interesting thing is, a lot of these suspension tunes and the chassis tunes and vehicle integration they're doing is actually going to go into global overseas markets. All right, we're at 75 kilometers an hour. I'm going to sync the boot. Response, not too bad. Yeah, there's definitely pulls better than the 2.4 litre diesel that we've tested in the ute before. This is the first diesel in the Tank 500. But this engine does its best work low in the rev range. I'd have to check the stats again, but I think it's a nice flat plateau of torque between about 1400 and 2400 RPM. That's just 620 right there. It kicks in very, very low. So in terms of drivability, that is a good thing. We're currently on the freeway section of the proving ground, and the engine is remarkably quiet. It's refined. I'm not getting much rattle and crank. It's been a while since I've driven a Tank 500, and I've got to say, it's pretty pimpin'. It's very, very luxurious, and the impressive thing for this is that when this vehicle comes out in September, it's going to be priced from 65k with a 3-litre turbo diesel inline 4-cylinder engine. And if you step up to the Vanta models, that's going to add locking front and rear diffs. Put that in real money, you're looking at mid-60s drive away for 7 seats, low range and 3.5 tonne towing capacity. A mid-spec Everest and a Prado sit well north of that before you start optioning them into the same ballpark. The question isn't whether it's cheap, the question is what you are giving up for the saving. Alright, I'm going to try a standing start. Let's see how we go. Feel those low end revs. Foot to the floor. Yeah, that pulls. Plenty of pulling power, but it's interesting. It doesn't feel. It's still kind of refined and restrained. It's not super loud. It's not super clattery. I mean, you know, this is no sports car. It's not going to feel like a rocket off the line, but there's definitely plenty of thrust there. Against Ford's 3-litre V6, this won't win a drag race. Peak power still sits with the Everest. Where it fights back is how the torque arrives earlier. Plus, it claims better fuel economy, and again, you're not carting AdBlue around Australia. Torque and range versus outright punch. That's the trade.
Honestly, this is not what I was expecting from a Chinese diesel. It has a more sophisticated and polished feel. I mean, part of that's that it's relatively quiet. We're not doing any hardcore off-roading today, but I get the strong impression that this is going to be a much better thing than the 2.4 litre turbo diesel off-road. It's going to give you better low-end traction, and it'll just be, I think, a little bit more predictable. All right, I'll try the manual shifting mode. Let's see how we go with that. Paddle shifters. So what are we in? We're in third. Drop it down to second. Well, the revs are high, but let's see how it goes. This engine is not supposed to love the high revs. Yeah, you get it up to 3.5, 4. It's still smooth though. It's still revving nicely. It's not getting thrashy. Feels like they've done their homework. Having those paddle shifters and that extra control over the engine, I personally find very useful when towing. If you're heading up a hill and you want to drop a gear or even raise a gear when you're on the flats, save a bit of fuel. Fuel's not cheap these days. Yeah, I really like that nice wave of torque. I'm in 5th gear, about 60 Ks, doing about 2,000 RPM, and just gently squeezing the throttle gives me just effortless acceleration. And it's weird, you get the best out of it at 1/3 throttle. You get a really nice, powerful, easy-going sense of acceleration. Like any diesel, foot to the floor is just going to make probably a bit of smoke and a bit of noise. It's not the best way to get the best out of these engines. But when you do it in this vehicle, it's still fairly refined and not clattery, not loud, not noisy. Now we have the full dirt road section, and again Rob Tribbiani's suspension tune is coming to the fore. This feels just so predictable. It's soaking up the potholes nicely. I'm gonna go right into the harsher stuff. The suspension tune really is quite impressive. We're not really here to test out the chassis, but it's hard not to comment on it. It's really good over rougher, pothole-pocked dirt roads. I think it's going to take a while to be understood by the car-buying public, but having this ex-Holden engineer tuning the chassis, the suspension, the vehicle integration, and also having this engine developed for this country and more localization. Australia is apparently a one of the key 3 export countries for GWM, so it's super important they have a voice at the table for what gets developed and designed, and I think we're starting to see this really bear some impressive fruit. All right, 6th gear, 1.7 RPM, and yeah, again, very light throttle opening, just glides along. And how's this? Every single model equipped with the 3 litre turbo diesel, so the Tank 500 and the Canon Alpha Ute, comes with a built-in brake controller. Plus, there's also a dedicated towing drive mode, and the cruise control has also been optimized to offer a towing option, if you like. So yeah, again, very keen to test out all these functions. So obviously, these being pre-production engineering vehicles, there's still a little bit of fine-tuning going on. As it stands, feels like it's ready to go. It doesn't feel unfinished or, pre-production at all, to be honest. So I'm coming down to low speed here. We've almost finished our drive in the new Tank 500 3-litre turbo diesel, and it's almost hard to tell you're in a diesel. It is so quiet, even at low revs, and when there's less wind noise and tyre noise and all that sort of thing. It's, yeah, unexpected. I was expecting a little less refinement and sophistication, but yeah, there you go. Big bore 4-cylinder turbo diesel engines are not new. Think back to the legendary Y61 Patrol, the Nissan Patrol that had a ZD30, and these engines are good because they have large single cylinders. They've got a a lot of inertia, a lot of low-end grunt, but they're often known as a bit clattery, a bit loud and agricultural. This one, not so much, as we've discovered. The power and torque, the fuel efficiency are all relatively good in this engine. Some of the detail though is really interesting, and I'll start by saying that this particular model, the Tank 500, is available with a 131 litre fuel tank.
Do the napkin math. 131 litres at the claimed 7.1 litres per 100 Ks is north of 1,800 kilometres. In the real world, a caravan or a trailer is going to cut that down. Even so, this is LandCruiser double tank energy without the LandCruiser invoice.
I will mention this though, one thing that I didn't say in the car is that there is a little bit of turbo lag in this. That's to be expected of a big bore 3 litre turbo diesel. It's not chronic, but yeah, single turbo, that's going to happen. Now, some of the interesting features of this engine include that water to air intercooler to keep thermal efficiency where they want it, and that means more efficient vehicle. Plus they've also got the latest Bosch common rail fuel injection system for the diesel. That basically means they can be more precise with the way the diesel's injected, and again, that makes it a bit more efficient. I'm going to check my notes here because some of this is nitty gritty. The engine code is GW4F30, and again, completely new from the ground up. It's got 170 kilowatts, 620 newton meters, which is 35 kilowatts and 140 newton meters more than the outgoing 2.4 litre turbo petrol. Peak torque hits at 1400 RPM and is carried all the way to 2400 RPM. That's versus Ford's V6, which gets peak torque at about 1750 RPM. Another interesting feature, you don't need AdBlue at all for this particular vehicle. I also forgot to mention this has an integrated trailer direction reversing camera. So it does like a top-down view, and it's supposed to make reversing trailers a little easier for anyone who's ever embarrassed themselves at the at the caravan park. You'll probably want to check that feature out.
So who is this for? If you want a 7-seat tourer that tows, sips less than the old Tank 500 petrol hybrid and undercuts LandCruiser money, this thing is suddenly on the shortlist. Who's it not for? Well, if you want the punchiest acceleration, or you've already bought into the hybrid tank life, or maybe you never plan to tow, then you may want to look elsewhere. Should Ford and Toyota be worried today? Not yet. But if this pre-production mule is representative, they should be watching September like a hawk. Smooth, punchy enough, properly refined, chassis already feels finished. This is the Tank 500 Australians actually asked for. Stay tuned for the full test when this vehicle lands in showrooms. And if you haven't already checked out our video of the new Canon Alpha Ute with the same 3 litre turbo diesel engine, head on over.